Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome. We're here. We are just about 7 minutes away from the start of the Xbox Games Showcase, where they will showcase some games. And we're joined today by a special guest, the Foam Stars Duck. The Foam Stars Duck is here. What do you think is going to be shown at this show, Foam Stars Duck? The Cyberpunk DLC will almost certainly be here. Okay, Foam Stars Duck. That's a pretty easy one to guess, considering, you know, they've been letting people play it for the past few days. But hey, I'll trust your judgment, Foam Stars Duck. Foam Stars is, you can't really trust Foam Stars Duck for an Xbox showcase because Foam Stars is only coming to PlayStation 4 and 5. So, you know, in one sense, Foam Stars Duck is pretty disconnected from the action. But also, he's got an insidious, little undercurrent there. Can't really trust Foam Stars Duck. Yes, PlayStation 4 and 5. And that's it. We'll talk, hey, we'll have a lot of time to talk about Foam Stars on Tuesday, but I guess since we're talking about Foam Stars right now, Foam Stars seems okay. It seems pretty like it could be totally decent. If you like Splatoon-esque games with Overwatch-esque hero characters, very narrow window there. No, it has, it has some ideas. It kind of has a neat look to it and all that sort of stuff. But Foam Stars will be a decent game if it is free to play. And if they try to charge full price for it, there will be a problem. But the effect of surfing on the foam and all the foam piling up and everything else is actually pretty cool. One of the characters has an ability that lets him go into the foam and submerge himself in the foam and then pop out and surprise people. But only one of the characters does that. Yeah, I don't know. It's way more fun than you might think from the footage, I guess I would say, about Foam Stars. And if you're surfing on your foam, you surf quickly. If you're surfing on the enemy foam, you don't. The Foam Stars, I don't believe, are kids or squids. There was one that was shark-like and has shark-like teeth. He's the one that can submerge into the foam. Yeah. They introduced that game as being from an internal studio responsible for games like, Dragon Quest and Nier. And you're like, okay. I'm sure that's technically accurate, but it's really weird to be like, the Nier games and also Foam Stars. Like, yes, okay. Let's unmute this and make sure that we got our audio right. Okay. Maybe drop that down a smidge. Hey, it could be worse. You could have a Sonic the Hedgehog game being made by the people that helped make Balan Wonderworld. So, the Xbox Showcase, expectations are high. My understanding is that the Xbox folks feel pretty confident about what they've got, but that can mean a couple of things, right? That either means they are confident about what they have compared to what has been shown over the last week or two, or they are confident because they think they have the goods on their own merits and all that sort of stuff. I think that when you look at the fan reaction to the PlayStation showcase and how like, oh, it was all a lot of CG trailers, a lot of this, a lot of that. I think that, you know, they have been kind of leaning towards, you know, they've been talking about like, oh yeah, we've got a lot of actual gameplay in our showcase. So that's been kind of what Aaron Greenberg was out there saying on Twitter last week. But yeah, you know, expectations are high-ish, I suppose. And we'll see how this goes. Like the Foam Stars Duck told us, and I have no reason to believe otherwise. I do think we'll see the Cyberpunk DLC here. But other than that, I don't, you know, they kind of teased Fable a little bit. I don't know that Fable is strong enough to be a show opener or closer, but we'll see what they do. I really, I feel very blank slate about this because I think a lot of the games they have announced and haven't shown in a while are not that exciting. The games they have announced and not shown at all, I would be interested in seeing. But I don't know. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, in about a minute here, they're going to push play on a tape, and we're going to watch a taped show. This is not an actual, you know, this is a pre-recorded thing. They have people in Los Angeles, as I understand it, hanging out in a room watching this on a screen with the Xbox folks who are in town. Redfall update? I doubt we will. I can't imagine a world in which they say the words Redfall on this. Stop playing twice, silly video. "45 minutes of Redfall updates." Okay. Well, I guess we don't have long to wait. Let's see what the heck they've got. You ready, Foam Stars Duck? 8, 7, 6. Hang on, I gotta take a shit. Ah! It's a lot of 18s. Under 18, do not interact.
Oh, we're finally doing this, are we? Because I was going to make a sandwich.
This is Fable.
Okay. Let's do it. What do I think about heroes? Well, we've all seen them, haven't we? Swanning about the place with their disproportionately high cheekbones and comically massive weapons.
Wanker.
Roughing up bandits, because they like to rough up bandits, don't they? Living it up with the common folk every single night. On a day-to-day basis, I'd say the true hero's me, someone who's breaking new ground with fruit, with veg, on the agricultural side of things.
Just look at them.
Not wafting around mythical creatures. And that's what they are. Wafters.
Yeah, well done.
You see, I'm not here to slay legendary beasts. I'm here to conquer the vegetable, not a euphemism. Let's face it, the age of heroes is over. This is the age of innovation. This, if you will, is the age of death. One moment.
This is...
This is awkward.
Yeah.
What? What?
Oh.
Okay, that's a fun. I mean, that's fun. Like a lot of the stuff you heard about Fable was that they were maybe not going to make it a comedic thing, and that it was going to be a more serious take, which is like pointless. So I don't know. That feels like a pretty good showcase for that thing. But who knows what state of development that is in, because I mean, that was a CG trailer with no date on it, right?
Death don't have no mercy in this land. Death don't have no mercy in this land. He'll come to your house and he won't.
I would not be so cool if a rat was crawling up my leg like that. I would not be like able to play a guitar and be like, yeah, man.
Shaking.
Joanna Dark. No.
Been a while. So, you remember that favor you owe me? I'm looking for a creature. Huge, sneaky, teeth like knives.
Why do we, what is with the... Xbox went the other way. They said people are into big ladies, right?
No.
Well, we're going to go the other way with it.
How about you guys?
Tiny ladies.
No? Nobody? Not helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. They did not open and say all these games will be playable in the next 12 months or whatever, but I wonder if that's probably like a... Phil Spencer on stage says everything you see from this point forward is blah blah. You know, if they're gonna do that, it makes sense to open with some trailers for some further out stuff before you lock yourself into that. Interesting that they are allowing Steam logos on their trailers here. I guess it's first party stuff, right?
World premiere.
World premiere.
These are dangerous times. At least that's what I hear.
This is no. Oh, okay. I was like, this is Avatar. No, it's not.
They're everywhere. But the world here belongs to the syndicates. If I want to survive, I have to play their game.
Is this Poker Night at the... Is this Sunshine Shuffle, but Star Wars? Is their game poker? Is their game space poker? Or are they just making a space poker game?
She's in here somewhere.
On second thought, I'm out.
There she is.
I've been held back my whole life.
By these Star Wars.
I just need a chance to finally be free.
Tom
Wherever that
Clancy's
takes me.
Star Wars.
I'm here to offer you a way out, okay?
Ding
Get off my
Chavez?
ship, Jalen.
Give me a chance. You're gonna have to trust me. It'll be dangerous, risky. But if you pull this off, you'll never look over your shoulder again.
The underworld shows no mercy. But it's a big galaxy out there. and I'm gonna risk it all.
No Steam logo on that one.
Wow. Fable, South of Midnight, Star Wars Outlaws. Welcome to our first ever double feature, the Xbox Game Showcase, followed by a deep dive into one of the most important RPGs ever made, Starfield. Gaming is the most powerful of all entertainment.
Sure.
It transports, it
I mean, you've
challenges, it
done.
connects
Stay
us.
tuned for
It's just
another
incredibly
chunk about a
impressively
game.
fun.
Just you didn't call it a double feature.
That is why
You
Team
did.
Xbox is committed
That's
to building the greatest
walking
place to
out here
play.
and saying Starfield is one of the most important. Like,
game creators.
fucking
By
okay.
unleashing
I mean,
the
most
power
important for
of the
y'all.
gaming community.
Most important for
Enabling
y'all,
all of us to
definitely.
play the games we want
Absolutely.
with our friends
They've been making role-playing
anywhere,
games for a lot of
from mobile
decades.
devices
I
to
mean,
PCs to consoles.
okay,
The
yeah,
lineup
fuck.
we have for you today is just incredible. These are the works of the very greatest creative teams from around the world. We made this show for you, the largest, most engaged, and globally diverse fan base in Xbox history. You are the heart and soul of Xbox.
This swelling
Your
music
passion
and this is
drives us,
weird.
And you are the
This is
inspiration for
fucking
the
weird,
visionaries
right?
whose games we showcase today.
Like this
From
sweeping
me
orchestral
and
theme,
all
and
of
you
the
are
team
the
at Xbox,
our light
thank
and our
you.
the light and the truth.
This next game is from Thunder Lotus, the
Terra
award-winning
Delu,
studio
Thunder
behind
Lotus.
Spiritfarer, who've gone back to their combat roots with an amazing co-op raid-focused action game that is uniquely
All right, she snapped
theirs.
back into here's a string of game
All right,
words.
everybody. It's
That I
time.
understand.
World premiere.
It's like she was working for Abstergo there for a minute. So a multiplayer. Okay, sure. That's funny in the context of all of the 3-player co-op. They're like, well, what about 33-player co-op? Oh, I do every day. I don't need a video game for that. Come on. All these cozy games out here asking me to face the wrath of God. That looks neat. I wonder if all of these games will end up being day one Game Pass games.
All right, guys, it's a simple job. Just in and out. Nothing to it.
This game this game's actually going to ship at some point. 33 player Payday 3, Payday 33. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody hit the floor.
You. I like your shirt. And I'm taking it the hard way. The Payday franchise has always been a game I really wish I liked, but they turned it into something that is so hyper-specific and, like, I don't know, as someone who would join random games and stuff, you would always join with people who always had very set that expected you to have been playing the game for 200 hours already and know exactly how each heist goes. So the minute you walk a different way, they all quit. And so I never really got to play much Payday 2. But what I played of it, I was like, this is a great idea, and I hate everything about the way it feels and moves and all that other. Those just like aspects of the game I did not enjoy. But when it first came out, it was like, this seems neat. Oh, that's actually relatively soon.
World premiere.
This leaked, right? This is all the Persona 3 whatever stuff. World premiere, unless you count the Atlas Instagram account. P3 is stored in the balls. I mean, okay, yeah. Putting a world premiere logo on a remake of Persona 3, like, well, Is Phil Spencer's gamer tag named after Persona 3, yes or no?
People don't like you very much, do they?
I mean, shit, man. It's kind of fucked up for you to just come out.
Sent here to the living lands by an emperor who couldn't bother to come himself.
How many games does Obsidian have in the works? I feel like Obsidian has been, of the studio acquisitions that Microsoft has been making, it feels like Obsidian is the one that is taking on projects and putting them out.
It seems to be corrupting our very souls. You want us to trust you. But the truth is, you scare us. The way you fight. The power you wield. The secrets you keep. You're either here to save us or destroy us.
Why not both? Destiny? Wait a minute.
What are you gonna do with it?
Now that you got the album, what the fuck are you gonna do with it, bitch?
That look cool? Not a lot coming this year, huh? I guess Payday. Yeah, push that game. Yeah, put that game in the dirt. Might as well bury it. Not nearly as important as Starfield. Starfield is merely the most important video game ever made. Banjo-Kazooie Star Wars crossover. Oh, it's going to be a Monkey Island thing. I was like, was it like an Indiana Jones movie tie-in thing? But no, this will have to be a Monkey Island thing. It's a Monkey Island thing.
Welcome to the Scum Bar, the most notorious tavern on Melee Island.
Wall-to-wall rogues and scoundrels.
A lot of updates for this game. Still at it.
For you. A big ship.
Good on them, man.
Luxury ship. A ship with just a splash of je ne sais quoi.
The legend of Monkey Island. You mean Governor Guybrush. But Threepwood's not set foot out of that mansion for almost a year.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? I told you no autographs. So I see you have a meet and greet ticket. And I guess it's not every day that you get to meet the mighty pirate Guybrush Threepwood, the legend of Monkey Island.
The Chuck has turned the memories of this island into a prison for Guybrush.
Well, well, what do we have here?
You need these.
This is a good fit. That's a really cool fit. The idea of putting some Monkey Island stuff into this. Yeah, you have to hope that the writing is good, obviously. Because it seems like, I mean, the setup obviously is, you know, if it's LeChuck is trapping Guybrush in his memories, then there's an opportunity for them to have a lot of references to the Monkey Island games, which is what you would want, but you kind of want more. Does Disney own Monkey Island? They do. But, you know, you want to make a Monkey Island thing, this is a guy you can call. Space. We're adding disasters. Literally, they're adding disasters. This is beautiful. This is a great looking. What a great looking ambulance. Yeah. Just gonna hang out, do some crop dusting in a video game for a change. Someone somewhere just did like a big fist pump. They're like, industrial, yes, I can take a plane on my plane. I can be a VIP charter pilot guy. This guy. This is fucking awesome. For like the people that this is for, this seems like great. And getting better all the time, right? But it just looks so good. It just looks so good. Oh. So I'm doing the sports thing of putting it out in 2023 and calling it 2024. Sure. Yeah, why? Okay. Put this thing in Flight Simulator. I wonder if it's a situation where the physics in the game are so real that to put something insane like this in there is actually a lot of work. Because you're like, well, we have to fudge a lot of numbers to make this thing actually fly because our flight model is based on shit that could actually fly and not this insane thing. A Dune expansion for Flight Simulator. Why not? Oh, that's actually really cool. Again, not something I would ever play, but or you know, every time I try Flight Simulator,
Melina here, speaking to you from our performance capture stage at Ninja Theory, where we have just wrapped our shoots for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. When we first showed gameplay for Hellblade 2, it was a look at some of the game's cinematic.
Yeah, I know they already
immersive
did a
action,
Halo thing.
where
Yeah.
Senua faced off against a gigantic troll on the Icelandic coastline. Today, we're taking you deeper
Remember that
into
guy?
the story. Her
He was a
personal
bummer.
quest, her unique perspective.
Let me
on the
fly
world,
that guy in
and
Flight
the intimate
Simulator.
journey that awaits you in Senua's
Fly the
saga.
giant creep from
What you'll
Hellblade
see
2.
today is all captured by the team on Xbox Series X.
They were on the giant dude tip years ago, before Fable got into it.
Following the threads of her mind.
What is this fucking ASMR? I gotta take these headphones off.
She's here to find them.
Stop it.
Once you hide.
Stop it.
She needs their help.
I don't need
a promise.
I don't want this.
A question.
Ah, come on now. What are you gonna start tapping the microphone and? All right, start the countdown. I can't hold off much longer.
Is it? Wisdom has a price. There's always a part of you that changes.
No, I know Hellblade was this. They have not. I don't think they did this in the previous Hellblade 2 trailers.
Over there. That pool. I can feel them. Everywhere. The lost ones. They are watching us.
Yeah, having like an ASMR thing inflicted upon you while you're wearing headphones is extremely unpleasant. I don't like this.
They can see us. What is going to happen? It's time to find out. How can we make it happen? It's time to find out. Why are they watching? It's time to find out. What are they waiting for? Senua.
Ship the game. Put a game out. Put any game out.
Watching more than one. Where are they?
Where are you?
What do they want? I don't like it. I'm scared. This is too
Mad woman.
Their eyes everywhere. Can feel them boring into her.
Witch.
What is she supposed to do? Do something. Ask them.
What do you want me to do?
Lost souls fought through hell to find us.
You were lost. Not anymore. The pool.
Are you ready for what you will find here?
What we will find. What is that? There. They are waiting. There. It's them. It's you. What will they do to her? What will we do to us? Touch it.
I don't have a lot of interest in this game, even separately from this trailer. Like it's a very nice, like visually, very nice. But I did not especially like the first game all that much. It was like, oh, this is really neat, but
Everything I've seen.
so every time they show this game, it's just like, yeah, you keep making a big deal out of this thing, and I really don't know why.
We've come so far, not far enough.
I assume, that they're making a much longer experience this time around, because that first game was, relatively small in scope by comparison, I guess.
What will happen to you?
I will not let them down.
She is ready. They know. Go.
Who are these around you, Senua? Those you have saved, or those you led to death?
That's the question we're all going to have to ask next year. One would assume that the back half of this presentation is going to have some video games being played, because little light on that so far. And maybe some games that might ship this year would be, I don't know, cool. Are they bringing the franchise to the United States of America? Or
Oh my god! A stranger!
Oh, surf's up, dude. Yeah, dude. Hang loose, bro.
whomst among us has not been caught in this exact situation? Infinite Wealth. Early 2024. Okay. That game sells itself. You know, you're like, yep.
Appalachia. What a sight. A verdant
Fallout
wonderland of
76
promise
2.
the fruit of years of prudent progress and determined reclamation, and 15 million dwellers worth of keen imagination. From the heart of West Virginia to the depths of the pit.
Well, we owe it all to Vault 76.
No matter if you roam alone or spend your time with friends, you'll find a home in Appalachia where the good times never end. There are relics to uncover from a time before the war, along with loads of friendly folks to meet and enemies.
I don't want to be a downer. This has been a little rough so far, I gotta say. Like, I you know, I feel like Fable's been the high point. I mean, obviously you start the show with something big, but I think the tone of Fable is something that they're hitting pretty well. It doesn't come off the same as old Fable, but I don't think the tone of old Fable works anymore. So going for something that's a little more kind of, I don't know, like a BBC comedy-ish kind of thing. Like getting that dude in it is a great touch for that. That sells that immediately. So if that's the vibe they're going for across the entire game, I think that could be really cool. Avowed looks nice.
Answer the call of Vault.
Answer the call of Vault.
Answer the call of Vault 76.
You know how wrestling shows pace themselves to where between two big events they put a thing in the middle that is like oh, let's let people go buy t-shirts and go to the bathroom.
World premiere.
They pace these shows the same way. Stash Force says the Fallout tone just doesn't work anymore. Yikes. I'm with you, man. Yeah, it's the tone of Fallout. I think it's because I just don't think that tone is synonymous with quality anymore. That's part of it, but also they have done it a lot over the last 15 years or whatever it's been now. And all right, what's Capcom got here? What is this? This is the Code Veronica remake, right? Is that? You can't make a new Onimusha game unless you're going to mocap something insane, like an elephant or something. Like, we mocapped real elephants for this. And Jean Reno is back. That looked like a video game being played to me. I mean, you know, flesh doors. Diablo has its share of weird flesh doors, and I'm not a fan. Is that the camera's perspective? Oh, where is it? So is this the perspective of the... Huh. That pulled back look seemed really neat. Something a little different from the kind of standard behind the back. Okay. A true new announcement across the board.
General Motors' historic commitment to performance is embodied in two of its iconic brands, Chevrolet and Cadillac.
I was just saying this.
V-Series.R elevates Cadillac's competitive spirit.
I was just saying, yeah, man, the Cadillacs.
With its thunderous V8 and hybrid power. The legendary Corvette has been a celebrated champion for decades. The all-new Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray continues that tradition. General Motors is proud to usher in a new era of competition with the innovators behind the new Forza Motorsport.
Forza Motorsport.
And now you can fuck him. And he just walks
pairing
out.
Their strengths in technical excellence and sophisticated modern design to take bold steps into the future and bring that experience to gamers. I'm thrilled to welcome the Cadillac V-Series.R and the Corvette E-Ray to the home of competition.
Remember when they used to do these shows in front of actual human people and they would bring in real cars?
I know you're ready. You've got this. Let's tweak the car's performance for the next one.
Look at our silly steering wheel. Isn't that weird? The wheels on the cars are round, but the steering wheels aren't anymore. That's innovation.
Best lap yet.
Ferris wheel, round. Please leave me alone, sir. That's a game that will come out this year. A game that will come out in 2023. Bold, I know. Commander Keen is back.
I have seen all that ever was, and all that ever will be. I have seen betrayal.
Is this Elder Scrolls Online? We're in this like middle of the show doldrums where they're just like, here's a good place to put the ESO update and the Fallout 76 ad. I mean, you got a captive audience, so use it, right? Try to sell them something they can buy right now. Or an update that's coming, you know, relatively near term. In the case of this, or is this out? Isn't this update out? I know they've been pushing a new update lately.
Move against me, hungry for forbidden knowledge, a mystery long kept hidden, a secret.
Which dies first, ESO or Skyrim or Fallout 76? ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, as I understand, is actually quite good. Fallout 76 I know is better than it was at launch, but I don't know what state that game is in these days. Put it to you this way, with Elder Scrolls Online, they are out here talking about new updates. With Fallout 76, their whole thing was, let's sing a song about how Fallout 76 exists. And with a thing that says you can play this right now. I will not. Maybe I will. I don't know. I always think about trying this game out again because I have not played it in a very long time. And like I said, people have had a lot of nice things to say about it over the last few years. You know, that it has continued to have updates and that it's pretty good.
Unit 37. Toronto is under attack by Null Sector.
There's something different about Null Sector this time.
They've taken over most of the city and they're rounding up
I think they're going to cancel this mode in the middle of this trailer, so don't get too attached to it.
Answering Vincent's recall. There's new blood on the team, and we have so much to teach them.
If we can stop Null Sector, maybe we can save the city.
Coming through.
Been a while.
This game looks cool. They should make this.
Have enough problems already.
It's a shame.
So we fly up there, smash through anything that gets in our way, and what's another business?
I hate to interrupt the moment, but I'm picking up reports of more attacks in other cities.
So it's that they're going to add this stuff, and this is going to be like a co-op kind of thing, but then the specific hero missions are gone, right? Oh, no, that's just a trailer they made, and now they're like, we got a game mode coming. And we got Smash Brothers target shooting training mode. Finally, a firing range. Look.
The world is counting on us.
We made these cinematics. We paid for them.
Let's go.
Shall we do this together?
Fight with me.
Engaging.
Watch this. I saw that.
Junker Queen? This changes everything.
World premiere.
They canceled the hero missions, which was separate from the other story thing they were still gonna make, I guess.
It looks like we're in a palace.
What the hell is going on? Who are these people?
No idea. But if they're attacking us, our only choice is fighting back. Hey, look over there! Can you get us out of here?
So you're telling me
Gun.
you're thieves who steal hearts, and you just happened to stumble into this world? The Rebel Corps will always help the Phantom Thieves, just as the Phantom Thieves have helped the Rebel Corps. Never forget that we're a united force who can rely on each other.
You should be grateful to have been made my subjects. But you're just mannerless little brats.
Unfortunately, returning will be no easy feat.
I forget the name of this. I know this leaked. This also leaked, right? So
Things can't go on like this. So, will you take a stand beside
this is pretty much a Persona Q game, but not in name, right? Persona Tactica Pacific Standard Time.
Humanity has always hunted for knowledge in the
Right, I guess they have to put a thing in here that they can say, stay tuned afterwards for
Not that the field
more of this.
stars is so vast.
In case people don't watch the other thing. Which I bet this thing does better numbers than whatever happens after it, right? That's probably... My understanding is that this is the most important video game ever made. You thought it was Pong. Perhaps you thought it was Tetris.
We're committed to the biggest question of all.
Tetris is the most important role-playing game ever made.
Out there. You're part of Constellation now. Part of our family.
This looks nice. I'm curious to see what they spend a half hour doing. Hopefully it's just playing it, right?
No final
But
group in the stars to be unraveling this mystery.
I'll follow you from here on out, Captain.
Grab jump is ready. I love this part.
These artifacts could be everything we've been looking for. Another great secret the universe is asking us to unravel.
Human settlements throughout the galaxy.
these like sweep. Okay, there you go. Here's a little something. There's some. Yep.
We are not stopping. Whatever lies at the end of this road.
That stuff looks all right. First person,
will
third person.
change humanity forever.
Also a good reminder of like, yeah, it's kind of one of those, you know. But like, whatever. If all of these pieces come together in a really good way, this will be awesome. But I feel like it's not necessarily surprising. Like you see it, you're like, yeah, no, this is. You've kind of been showing this game off for a while, and you know, I understand. PC pipe game. What a weird. I have high hopes for Starfield. I don't mean to be a downer, but you know, it's like it's just so long coming at this point that like trailers and stuff for it feel like we're past that point, or they need to have showed more at this point, or whatever. I couldn't do that. Now, hear me out here. These characters look cool, but what if that was a bear and in the backpack was instead a bird? I just spitball in here. Is this game all climbing? Because I can't think of a thing that I personally want to do less than this. Like I'm always talking about how climbing in video games is usually so, oh hey, I mean maybe they'll make it mean something. I mean that's always the part that is annoying, right? Is you're just like, it's filler, you're just pushing up. And then occasionally pushing left. Climb. Fall 20... See, it's fall, but it's fall 2023. Like, haha. All right, I get you.
World premiere.
Don't I know it? Still do be waking the deep. That's true. Good, short, sweet tone. Like, okay, something creepy screams. You close the door. It's going to be a bummer when 40% of these games get pushed to 2025. All right. Yeah. This looks cool. Frame rate. Yeah, I mean, it looks a little framey. I mean, you know, sometimes games aren't done yet. You know? Sometimes teams are small. They don't have time to really polish up a trailer.
Hi.
Oh.
I'm very excited to be returning as Johnny Silverhand in the upcoming expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. This new adventure reunites Johnny and V on a dangerous spy mission and introduces Idris Elba as secret agent.
When do you think they
Solomon
recorded
Reed.
this? They just like
It's
do
really
this
amazing
back
to share
when
the screen with you, Idris. It's cool to be a part of this game with you, man. As a player, you'll get to visit Dogtown, an unexplored part of Night City, and rescue the president of the new United States of
Dogtown.
America.
Hot Dog Star.
Expect a massive expansion, twists, secrets, and plenty of stuff to do. I know the team at CD Projekt Red just keeps raising the bar when it comes to telling cinematic stories in video games. And I really can't wait for you to play it on Xbox Series X and S. But enough talking. I'm guessing you want to see for yourself. And so it is my honor and pleasure to give you and introduce the official trailer for Phantom Liberty. Check it out.
That's a just very silly little zoom they did there.
There's gotta be a way out of this.
Johnny, I'm dying. There's nothing can stop that.
V. My name is Songbird. I'm an NUS intelligence analyst. I know about the bomb ticketing.
Last time I played this game, it was still like a little too broken. You know, wiped my inventory, got in a spot where it wouldn't let me jump anymore. I'm guessing that with the way that this is, that this is something that will fit into the middle of the game. This doesn't seem like something that is a post-game DLC. This is like a... This strikes me as one of those things where you're going to go accept a quest and it's going to be like, oh, do you want to go to Dogtown? And then it will fade out and come back in. And you will be in a different environment for the duration of the DLC. Like the old...
They catch us out here, we're dead.
You know, like the pit, like the old Fallout 3 DLCs and shit. You would not be able to really, I mean, you know, post-game DLC would be interesting because you would have to count for a few different variants depending on the endings, I suppose. But
V, treason ain't ever black and white.
It's a charade, V.
Wherever she goes, people get hurt. Bodies drop.
Just want what Songbird promised me. The cure.
The situation's changed. I need to know if you're with me.
Illusion of freedom.
you know, if you get through this thing and get a cure and that then adds a new ending to the game, that could be interesting, I suppose.
Put it to someone's head. Pull the trigger.
But didn't they, I don't know if this is,
I don't do anything and do it soon.
didn't they kind of write all this stuff around the same time as the main game? And And, you know, because they had to get Keanu to do it. I don't know if they did they do new sessions for him or if this was all part of one long session. I can't remember if they said anything about that, but is this just City Skylines 2? Or is this something else? Like this font treatment has a real specific looking thing, and I'm like, is this? That almost looks like the EA font in a weird way. But surely. Oh. Look at that truck. You can zoom in, follow that truck. The fuck I do. That's not that far off. Yeah, I don't know why. Something about the typeface was tripping me up into like that just has something about it had an EA vibe to it for a sec there, and I was like, surely they're not going to put out a Sim City up against City Skylines 2.
World premiere.
That game already got announced. I mean, they already said that was coming to PC, right? What if the world we live in today is their utopia? I mean, at least that would make sense. You'd be like, why is shit so fucked? It's like, well, it's benefiting somebody. What is this, a billionaire simulator? Waters Day in the afternoon. Have a happy Waters Day, everybody. In quotes for each of us. Oh, it's really funny. If ye would be a true king. This looks fucking cool. I mean, it looks extravagant, right? I mean... Ah! Stop talking.
GameCube.
World premiere.
I guess good they didn't just go right into making Persona 6, but I know some Shin Megami Tensei fans are
Humanity's cities have fallen.
Thirsty.
Our people's only means of survival is to seek sanctuary here, in the Belfry. You must explore this
Batman
world
is dead. We are in the Belfry.
to find the origins of this evil. And bring hope back to our people.
All right. Co-op combos. Or maybe you're controlling the entire party. I don't know. This seems neat.
Together, you can save humanity.
Stoic. Ah! Sorry, we made the end way louder than the rest of the trailer.
World premiere.
All right. What is In Exile working on? BioShock Infinite 2.
This city is a miracle of progress. A finely tuned, delicately balanced machine.
Is it weird that looking at that guy walking on that little thing made me think of Tommy Tallarico?
Takes one rebellious little gear.
Can't really tell you why. I mean, I could tell you why. It would just take too long to tell you why. But
everything.
Oh my God! But there's a horrible underbelly to this steampunk utopia. Who could have envisioned such a thing? Good God! We've got to shoot these weird steam guns.
What I have built. There is nowhere in space or time where I will not destroy you.
All right. Got some of that time rewinding potion.
Oh no.
I don't like the aesthetic anymore. You know, it's hard. The steampunk-ish. That guy with his dumb beard. You know what I mean? It's been a lot. Been a lot of that. Been a lot of that. Coming in due time is funny.
Thank you all for joining us. Today is a special day for me and the team. I'm excited to see 11 games.
He's inside the vapor chamber
from our
right now.
first-party studios. We opened with Fable from Playground Games.
Allow me to remind you that there were games earlier as well.
Modern era while staying true to its British style and humor. Compulsion and In Exile shared their first original experience.
That motherfucker wearing a Hexen t-shirt
with South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution. And we are thrilled at how Avowed is shaping up for release next year from the RPG masters at Obsidian. In addition to Avowed, our studios will deliver Hellblade 2, an all-new Microsoft Flight Simulator, Towerborn, and more in 2024. Later this month, players can look forward to Elder Scrolls Online Necrom.
Real shiny print on that thing. Looks like it was just made. Looks like that shirt was just made.
Starfield.
Hey, can you go down to the mall and get a t-shirt printed?
Both built for Xbox Series X, S, and PC. We are also honored to share 14 games today from our creative partners, like Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft Massive, in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, 33 Immortals from Thunder Lotus, Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess from Capcom, and more Persona games coming to Game Pass thanks to our continued partnership with Sega Atlas. I'd also like to congratulate the Studio Zero team on Metaphor Refantazio. It's great to be able to premiere what is next from the creators of Persona here in our showcase. We are focused on putting our players and game creators first in everything we do. No matter if you choose to play on Xbox, PC, or over the cloud, all gamers are welcome here at Xbox. When it comes to our consoles, we have heard your feedback on two fronts. First, we have significantly increased our supply of Xbox Series X, making it easier for fans to find globally.
Has that been hard to
Second,
find? I feel like
we know you've wanted more storage with Xbox Series S.
No.
And I'm excited
Sure,
to share
sure.
we have some news there as well.
They're not just going to talk about the Western Digital, because now more people are making the... Oh, okay. They're going to make a black S with 1 terabyte. That's weird. I mean, sure. Prices come down on the drives, so at some point, why not? But... Okay. Okay.
And now for the one more thing you've all been waiting for. Prepare for the most comprehensive deep dive we've ever done for the biggest game we've ever built. So sit tight.
That was not
and
the one more
enjoy
thing.
Starfield Direct.
Dude. I thought like it was one more thing we're going to show you in one more game, not... Dude. Wow, I don't... oh boy. That didn't feel like that much gameplay. That didn't feel like that.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to Bethesda Game Studios. You know, we've been so lucky over the decades to make the kind of games that we love here, and that's thanks to all of you, from the Elder Scrolls to Fallout. We love creating these worlds.
I don't know about you, that felt like a rough show. I'm not to say that there's
and
like nothing.
All that time, we'd often talk about and dream up the space game. What if we could take that feeling of being who you want to be, and
interesting looking stuff in that show for sure, but
where you weren't really limited in where you could go or what you could do, and that is Starfield.
That's a show that really underscores why they opened with, "This is the most important role-playing game ever made."
All of us here in the studio,
oh man!
Together, but well, we've never tried to make a game like this. Today, you'll get to hear from many on the team and see so much of what we think makes our game
I thought there was another half hour.
So
I thought that they were going 90. I thought that this was going to be in like a 90-minute show, and then Starfield after that.
Starfield is our first new universe in over 25 years, but it's still a Bethesda RPG through and through.
So yeah, I don't know. That show, there's stuff in there that looks like it's absolutely worth playing. I guess I just.
But this time, it's not just one world.
Seemed like it maybe needed more.
It's over 1,000 worlds. Because the choice of where to go, it's not ours, it's yours. And it wasn't until now that we had the technology to create it. From the rocks at your feet, to the mountains in the distance, to the people and creatures that live in these worlds.
It's a lot of 2024
that isn't
across
just a
that show.
That moon is actually there orbiting the planet. Yes,
a lot of 2024.
We realistically simulate the galaxy around you. Our next generation lighting model uses real-time global illumination to light the world based on the type of star and the makeup of the planet's atmosphere. We also have an all-new animation system. And of course, You can play it in third person, and you can play it in first person. We love exploration and rewarding it, but you do explore differently in this game given its scale. That usually involves exploring an area you've landed in. You can collect resources, do a mission, and maybe even stumble upon something unexpected.
These good looking rocks. These damn spacer punks. This stuff looks pretty good. Like combat wise, like looks nice.
We do love stuff and all of the items allowing you to pick everything up. And you can view all that
We do
in
love
your
stuff.
data menu. This is the hub for everything you're doing, from your skills to your ship, your missions, and your inventory. We love to pack a ton of detail in every object, from all of your
Okay, so
weapons
that's an equip limit there, 97 out of
spacesuits,
145.
to food. We just obsess over the details, and food. We obsess over food. When you're done exploring, you can walk back or fast travel to your ship. We have companions and crew you can take with you. I left Vasco here back at my ship.
Welcome back, Captain Howard.
And he can even say your name. Let's head out.
Can he, though? How many names can he say? What are the
Our
limits?
mission was to convey the wonder and majesty of space exploration, to evoke the romance of the golden age of early spaceflight. And we've been referring to this approach as NASA Punk. This means a design language where the tech is advanced, yet still looks grounded and relatable.
For us, it's that contrast. That's where the visual interest is. Obviously, the NASA, which is the rigid, hard function over style, and then Punk, which is all about style.
You can see that visual
So
style
true. Punk
coming
is
through
all
in your
about
ship.
style.
Your ship is your home for you and your crew. And like many of the spaces in our game, it has a slightly retro
DIY.
and analog touch. A bit of lo-fi rather than sci-fi, where
I do
everything is
like
well
the look
used,
of, you know,
worn,
the aesthetic
and lived in.
they've gone for
Alrighty.
for this stuff.
What's the plan, Captain?
I don't know that I love that they're calling it NASA Punk, but that
This
sure.
is your star
Yes.
map. It starts with the planet you're currently on. You can see all of its info and resources. You can choose a landing spot or fast travel to known locations. Backing out further, you can view all the planets in the system. Obviously, the game is big, and it's here you can see planets that have key locations, missions, or life on them, versus the many planets that are barren but resource heavy. Zoom out even further to see all the systems in this part of the galaxy. Here, you can plot a course to ones that are light years away. This uses your ship's grav drive to fold space and jump to these systems. And you will need to upgrade your ship and skills if you want to jump to the most distant ones. But for now, we'll plot a course to the Alpha Centauri
video game
system,
stuff.
where we can find the city of New Atlantis.
Welcome to UC Space. Maintain your current course while we scan your ship's cargo. Scan complete. You are cleared for landing at New Atlantis.
Interesting idea, the whole contraband thing. Yeah, there'd better be a planet that's all
As soon as you
skooma.
land in a city like New Atlantis, your eyes are guided upwards to just these boundless, vast buildings.
It's the biggest city we've ever made, not just in size, but also in the amount of custom art, crowds, and quests.
So the main focus when we're designing a city is obviously what supports the story. We try and tell as many small stories as possible.
This is a Colony War memorial.
It's a few moments of
We love
gameplay
Colony
that
Wars.
make the space
Thank you for
feel like it's
memorializing
full
it in
of
your game.
real characters that are going
Is there a
about
G
their day-to-day
Police
lives.
memorial
Realize
or?
if you really stop and think about it.
Buddy, it's coffee.
It's also where your adventure with Constellation begins.
How many of these cities can I fill with cheese wheels?
Welcome to Constellation. We have a lot to talk about.
By the time you meet them, Constellation is sort of seen as this mythical group. Most people don't even know they exist anymore. They're the last true explorers in the galaxy, and they're trying to find the answers to some of humanity's biggest questions.
The artifacts are so different, so alien.
Like, I figured they'll do factions in this game, like...
Spoke to you.
I would assume that you'd have faction... I mean, if we just map everything that they've done with Elder Scrolls onto this...
Coming together. That means there's a set built by an intelligence outside the settled systems.
It's definitely...
I wonder if there's any that will be like direct, like, hey, the Dark Brotherhood is in this game, literally descended from...
Constellation's leader. Mateo, the theologian who believes that there's definitely something else out there. Noel, the gifted scientist and Sarah Morgan's protege. And Walter, a very successful businessman in the settled systems and Constellation's
What's up? I'm a very
financier.
successful businessman.
As long as you have the money.
There's also Vlad, the ex-pirate, Sam Coe, the former space cowboy, and...
Former space cowboy. He's still wearing a hat. I think that guy is still a space cowboy.
Otherwise irresistible charm.
The journey you take with Constellation is just the first of many you'll embark on. The Settled Systems is home to all kinds of different stories, people, and adventures for you to uncover. The United Colonies is where you'll find New Atlantis, the first major human settlement in space. The people who live here value law, discipline, and the legacy of humanity. They consider themselves the true children
Just like the
of
people
Earth.
on Earth.
You ever think of joining up with the Vanguard? Help the United Colonies, even get your UC citizenship?
New Atlantis isn't the only city within the United Colonies.
Citizenship guarantees,
The city of Sidonia
service
on
guarantees
Mars, to this
citizenship,
day,
I suppose.
serves as the largest mining facility for the United Colonies. Beyond the United Colonies' reach, you might find yourself in a much more wild and independent coalition of star systems. This is Freestar Collective Space. The capital of the Freestar Collective is Aquila City.
The Stone Root Inn is an Aquila
You
City
don't, you know,
fixture.
I think there's something about, like, when you take your frontier areas and then literally make people back into fucking cowboys, like that. I think
Neon started out as a
like
fishing
future
platform,
cowboy
but is now
is
known
a
throughout the settled systems as a
it's
pleasure
fine,
city, where
but I think
almost
as a
anything
visual, like as a motif
morality
for your, like, if you get out there crazy on the Wild West, it's like the Wild West. It's just kind of the obvious route, I guess.
Future tomorrow.
Everyone has been chewed up and
What,
ground
FTR
up.
Bald is in this? What?
Try not to get yourself killed, all right?
Outside the bounds of civilized space, there are still plenty of unclaimed systems to explore, but these areas are also home to the most hostile factions in the galaxy.
The great serpent hungers. All heathens shall be made.
Yes, the tunnel snakes, right? Is this
A new face. Is this the face of a brave runner here to challenge the Red Mile?
They think the galaxy is theirs. They are wrong. It belongs to the Crimson Fleet. It always has.
I was gonna say, is the red faction? Are they just gonna be like the generic Soviets? Are they just gonna be like
It's all there, waiting for you.
space communists?
A slice of humanity's
Parentheses
future.
negative.
So, ready to get out there?
Throughout the galaxy, there are so many things to see and stories to experience. But the most important story is the one that you tell. I'm the type of person who spends hours in character creation, and I think people are going to be really excited when they see all of the improvements we've made.
One of the biggest overhauls was done through our character generation system. We scanned a wide range of faces from different age groups and ethnicities, and by mixing and matching all that data, we were able to create highly detailed and diverse characters.
We use that exact system to create all of the characters and NPCs you're going to see in the game. So any character you see almost always is a character you could make yourself.
Okay.
Hey, come on. Come on. Okay.
Good,
take
you're
it easy.
awake.
You were out cold. No physical damage. Mentally, the jury's still out. You know who you are? New recruit for Argos Extractors?
You're in the jungle, baby.
Ring any bells?
You're gonna die.
Any of this look familiar?
You start your character creation journey as though you're cycling through employee records. You'll pick from a lineup of 40 presets, and that'll be your starting point. Your journey from there can be as detailed or as quick as you want it to be. This new system has more to offer than ever before.
It's also the simplest character generation system we've ever had. We let the player get as close as possible to make whatever they want. With the various facial morphs you can blend together, the dermesthetic and makeup, blemishes, scars, piercings, teeth settings. It's a lot, but I think it's the most fun to use.
Character creation is more than just how you look. This is also where you start to decide who you want to be. That's where backgrounds come in. Backgrounds give you a bit of backstory and start you out with 3 basic skills.
From chef to dusty. You know, the crew still has a betting pool about which restaurant critic you must have crossed to wind up here.
What's great about backgrounds is you never know when yours is going to come in handy. You could be in the middle of a fancy restaurant talking to some guy, and suddenly you learn he needs a beast hunter to help track down a monster.
Fine. I probably should stick to professionals anyway, given what happened the
This
last
is, yeah, that's something you would expect to be in the game, for sure.
Even further, by letting you pick up to 3 traits. Traits are completely optional, and they come with their own advantages and disadvantages. You could choose to meet your biggest fan.
By Vectera, by Vectera! Is it really, really you?
He'll join your crew, and he'll give you gifts, if you're willing to put up with his constant commentary.
I can't believe I get to stand near you, breathing the same air. I've got to have every molecule.
My favorite trait is kid stuff. You have to pay some credits to support your parents, but they're very sweet, and it's really fun to go visit them.
Honey, we got ourselves a visitor.
Oh my God!
I came across some hostile zealots in space, but because I had chosen a trait that made me the same religion as them, I was able to get by without any
Turns out I was also a fucking hostile zealot.
There's another great one that gives you a damage buff when your health is low, but mercenaries will randomly show up and try to kill you. No matter what you choose, there will be plenty of ways for you to tell your story. And if you want to
it seems like there are more options along those lines, right? As opposed to just like, here's 5 or...
To another adventure.
We'll let you discover that on your own.
Once you've built the perfect character, that's when your journey can really begin. We took what we loved about skills and perks from our previous
Say
games
like preset 7 will be good
to
for me.
create an all-new
6 or
skill
7. And then mess with the face a little bit and
you
go,
get a skill
yeah,
point,
okay.
which can be used to unlock or rank up skills. Ranks are unlocked by completing challenges
I like seeing
associated with that skill.
the menus and kind of how they're building their skill system, but like having a guy come on and say, when you level up, you get a skill point and you can spend a skill point on your skill. You're like, no, I've played, I have done video games before. Like I get, like there's,
I like the xenosociology skill because it lets you mind control aliens.
Boost pack out of the gate. I'm boost packing everywhere.
Visor guy's a boost packer.
I like maxing out my physical tree so I can get neuro strikes and just punch my way through combat.
These all look like cool traits.
That one's a lot of fun.
Invest in the skills that suit your playstyle.
I'm very much a stealth player. So, I'm out there pickpocketing everyone. A favorite part about being stealthy is
You can
slowly
pickpocket
creeping
someone and
through
put a live
vents like
grenade
you're
in their-
a movie, and then jumping out and springing on people.
Whenever possible, I like
Slayton
to talk
security?
my way through situations.
Is Bobby Slayton in this game? The pit. Oh my God.
Fine, I'll issue you an access card.
I'm more of a run and gun player. I like doing the death from above thing where I boost pack over guys and I throw landmines at them.
Boost pack looks fun. I mean, like, I think a lot of the Bethesda games have not always rewarded aggressive combat. All that, you know, it's more like I'm gonna stand here and shoot these people. Like, movement isn't always a big factor in their combat. So letting you fucking hop around and do cool shit, that just looks fun to do.
Exploration is a key aspect of all our games. In Starfield, there are full star systems with new life, resources, and adventures. Our team worked hard to strike a balance between fun and realism. We studied data from NASA and a multitude of other sources to help us make the world feel believable. From the way we approached
I
planetary
assume that means what he's kind of getting at there is like sometimes you go places and there ain't shit there, but hopefully it'll still look nice.
A grounded world, we can start looking at all the things that make that world fun. When you leave a planet and head into space, you'll be navigating asteroid fields, having chance meetings with interesting strangers, dogfighting in space, and exploring derelict ships. It's all out there. Ultimately, it's about rewarding your curiosity, because whether it's on the surface of a planet, the alleys of a city, or the vastness of space,
They're showing some good varied
know what
looks
you'll
for the
find.
environments, like the indoor stuff, you know, whether it's ships or different territories. Like, some of that stuff looks pretty nice.
Space exploration is possible thanks to your ship. Your ship is almost like having another character or home you can make all your own. I think you'll be blown away by the amount of stuff you can do. You can buy a ship.
I'm sure you can find something you like.
Customize and upgrade that ship. And hire a crew to keep it up and running. And it all starts in spaceports. Every spaceport has a ship technician where you can purchase, sell, and modify ships.
Anything I can help you with?
Maybe you start off with a speedy fighter that's perfect for bounty hunting. Then you might round out your ship roster with a hulking space freighter to run cargo missions, or even do a little smuggling. For now, though, we're going to take our starting ship, the Frontier, and make some changes. You can customize and upgrade everything you see here.
Neat.
And you have two ways to do that. You can quickly upgrade individual systems like your weapons or shields, or you can deep dive and enter the shipbuilder mode. Here you can change anything from the systems to the look and layout. Adding a new habitat module can give you more room for crew. Adding cowling can change your ship's overall silhouette. An improved grav drive allows for longer distance space jumps. You can even fully customize your paint job to get the exact look you want. The parts you choose to build with don't just affect your ship's stats. They'll also affect what you can do inside your ship. You can have modules for crafting.
You could put a rumpus room in there.
For storing and displaying your weapons. Starfield's in-game ship manufacturers bring their own look and feel to every piece of your ship. From living quarters to cargo holds, mess halls, and control rooms.
It's cool. That stuff's really cool.
Our modified Frontier is a practical ship, but with a little creativity, your ship can look like almost anything you want.
It's a bit odd, but one of my
Almost
favorite ways
anything.
of customizing ships is I make them look like animals. The HMS Platypus, as I called it. where it had a giant tail to it. And we've done spiders, we've done mechs. So it's really whatever your
I bet that thing looks silly as hell flying in space. Okay, yeah, show it. You gotta show it.
And while you can build your home among the stars the way you want to, you're probably not the only person who will call your ship home.
I guess I hadn't considered the idea of you having crew on your ship.
Engines ready.
The Frontier is fueled and ready, Captain.
I feel like a lot of this is scratching a very specific kind of
These companions can serve on
Mass
your crew,
Effect-like
and they'll
itch
always
for
be there
me,
when you
where I'm
travel.
looking at this and
We'll be
going,
traveling
yep,
together
yeah,
until
yeah.
we either
Like
find
the
an
way that they are
artifact or this lead runs dry.
adapting kind of their known,
Each companion comes with their own valuable skills.
you know, their known
for your
systems.
ships
Like
and
Bethesda
outposts.
games have like a lot of the stuff when they're like, look at the traits, and you're like, yeah,
Eventually,
okay, it's got
some
that, yeah,
friendships might
naturally.
blossom into romance.
I don't know that I've ever really loved anyone except you.
And if you're looking for a little extra help on your ship, you can always hire additional crew at spaceports.
Got any room on your ship for someone like me?
But the idea of a bigger ship that
You'll
you're
also
walking
meet
around
potential
is
crew
like, oh
members out
yeah,
in the world.
huh?
Still think there might be a spot for me on your ship? I gotta get off this rock.
Assign crew to your ship or outposts, and their unique skills will affect how they run.
Outposts.
And just like companions, most crew members can lend a hand in the field. Take Bosco, for instance.
He's designed around the core basics of a NASA machine.
Please avoid getting shot. You might die.
I still wanted to give it almost a humanoid personality, so I elongated the limbs. This tends to make him feel more human-like and give him a little personality.
It is a shame exploration requires so much bloodshed.
Using the shipbuilding tools and crew selection features in Starfield, you'll be able to build and captain the ship of your dreams. And now, let's take to the sky.
That's neat. I wonder if it'll be a situation where there'll be like missions that where you need to have certain components on your ship. If it's like you have a science lab on your ship so you can process these samples, otherwise you got to fly somewhere else to do it, or you know.
We're putting you
Like if there's
in the
like
cockpit
that
of
sort
your
of like, you know,
very
the idea of like,
spaceship
oh, you can
and
show
telling
off
you
your
that you
guns,
can
like
do
that's
pretty
kind
much
of whatever.
anything.
But
And that is really cool for us as developers. Spaceflight should be exciting and dangerous, and you should feel like you're in complete control every step of the way. We've extended that sense of control to ship combat. It's not about just hitting your triggers to fire your weapons. It's a complex dance between your piloting skills and our power allocation system. Boosting power to your engines will make your ship faster. Powering up the ground drives will shorten the amount of time
I
it takes
appreciate that
before
they
you can
also
make a
played
jump.
X-Wing and understand that that is a good system. I'd be curious on how combat works in some of these bigger fucking tanks, you know, these cargo cruisers and whatever else. If you're
You
going to
should
be,
always be on your toes because you're not alone out there.
if there'll be situations where you're just kind of like fucked. It's like, oh, this big boat I'm piloting is not built to dogfight.
Unlocking the targeting control system skill will allow you to zero in on specific subsystems of the ship you target.
Like X-Wing. Sort of.
After destroying an enemy ship, you can loot the remains from your cockpit. You can always turn any ship that engages you into scrap.
Cool.
But you can also take a more personal approach by docking with the enemy vessel and boarding their ship.
We love docking. So maybe that's what you do in situations where you know that your ship is not necessarily built for space combat, is you just dock and go over there and just smoke everybody.
Once you've taken control of an enemy ship, it's yours.
It's
Add it to your
yours.
fleet and retrieve it at any spaceport.
Okay, that was like the fleet stuff was my
But space
other
is
question.
way more than fighting for your life. Just like when you're planetside, there are plenty of sights to see and stops to make
Planetside?
on the way to your next adventure. Like these massive star yards. Walk the halls, talk to the crew, maybe get talked into buying a whole new ship.
A civilian in my star yard. Let's see about getting you a proper ship, one worthy of you.
Maybe you'll dock with a gigantic battleship, like the UC Vigilance.
Maybe I will.
Or rub elbows with the galaxy's wealthy elite on a cruise ship fit for the stars. There are plenty of personal encounters to be had as well.
Is that,
you can hail
what do you
any
mean?
ship you come across to trade,
Tell me more
swap
about
info,
personal encounters.
or maybe even commit an act of piracy.
Piracy.
When
Download
I'm
video
playing,
game.
I generally go crazy. I definitely go like the more piracy routes. I want to take over ships. I'm going to board ships. I'm like, this is now mine. I steal all the sandwiches and put them, in my cargo hold that I have specifically for sandwiches. I don't want to play the hero.
Fuck
but I
yeah.
wanna go out and just start.
I like
taking
that this
things from
video
people
is
as
long
quickly as
enough that
possible.
they are able to
Some strangers might be looking for a little
Really
human connection in the darkness of space.
nod to all the fucking goofy shit you might want to do, as well as, like, they're not just showing it. I was like, here's a space game. You go there and you just factions. It's just like, let me pile up the
thing I love
sandwiches.
most about Starfield is that it is a Bethesda game through and through.
Yeah,
It's really about going to strange new places, meeting interesting
apparent.
people, and getting sidetracked on zany adventures.
Hopefully missing
Then
some of that
realizing 12
Bethesda
later
magic
that you're involved in a
at
completely
launch.
new story.
You're human. We thought we were the only ones to leave Earth.
That DNA is so present here. It's in our random encounters, it's in our handcrafted quests, and it feels so cool to play it and just make your own path in this universe. There are over 1,000 planets out there, just waiting for you to visit. We want you to feel like explorers, breaking ground on new planets, exploring every inch of a mostly untouched galaxy. We want you to feel hopeful. We want you to feel this sense of awe and wonder, and sometimes a little fear. We're giving you a massive playground and a ton of toys.
I wonder what happens when your ship gets blown up. If it's a situation where your character immediately dies and you reload, or if there's a, hey, you're floating in space, hey, you're a, like you lost your ship, like, can you lose ships and cargo?
Hey everybody, we've shown you so much stuff, but we thought we'd just take a little break and show you something a little bit different.
This is the
we
controller,
put
right?
so much detail into our game worlds, and we love the opportunity to bring that into the real world with our collector's editions. And for this game, we've done a watch. It is the Constellation Explorer's Watch. This is the watch that you actually get in the game that acts as part of your HUD, where it's the compass and then environmental information. It connects to your phone to give you notifications and other information. And we've also designed this really cool case that it comes with, Istvan.
Yeah, we really took as much care in designing this case as we did the watch. Our attention to detail in the game totally translates to this. Inspired by the cases that the astronauts used during the Apollo era to bring back samples from the moon. It's got an intricate locking mechanism, authentic, heavy, comes
You
with
could
a
keep your
Constellation
weed
patch,
in there.
NATO strap, and the overall functionality and believability of this as something that would exist in the world, in the Starfield universe.
Oh, and hey, take this. You'll find it very useful out there, and it even tells the time.
We actually have something else. Now that we're part of Xbox, we get to work with the amazing people on the Xbox hardware team, and together we have created this custom limited edition Starfield controller. It's awesome. It is now, our favorite controller.
We love this because it's inspired by the actual controls of your spaceship. And not only that, we've created the first ever custom headset with Xbox. And this is a perfect pairing with that controller.
It's a nice looking controller. This is a really ridiculous video of these headphones. I mean, the headphones look nice too, but this is ridiculous.
In every one of our games, we always put so much care into all those little details that breathe life into our worlds. But Starfield isn't just a Bethesda Game Studios world, it's a Bethesda Game Studios galaxy. So why go this big with Starfield? Because we want to give you freedom on a galactic level.
I hope there's some fun, and there probably will be, right? But like, you want to find fun Easter eggs, like... Do you find a planet that you, as you really look at it long enough, you're like, oh, this is fucking Tamriel.
Use for crafting, building, and customizing.
Like, it's not named that or anything. It's, you know, because that's lost to time or whatever.
Generate the planet itself as a procedural
Jean-Paul
content,
Levesque.
but the handcrafted content itself comes as the player explores. Our system builds the planet as the player approaches it. We stitch together a block of terrain. After that, we have the system that adds interesting locations for the player to explore, creatures to encounter.
I'm not really sold on the look of these creatures in a lot of cases. I feel like a lot of the alien stuff they've shown has not been
environmental storytelling that
interesting.
is known for.
Dude, he said environmental storytelling. They literally showed a
Their
skeleton.
habitat isn't far from here. If you could take care of them,
If only he was on a space toilet.
So even if your friends were to visit the same planet that you have, you would have a different story to tell.
Freebooter. I don't know what you've been freebooting lately, but I don't want to hear about it. That was a good...
It's completely up to you how you want to interact with each planet. Whether you want to explore...
I want to blow up all the planets. It's up to me. I want to blow up all the planets. Let me get a planet cracker.
Or simply take in the views. With the help of your scanner, you'll chart the uncharted.
Let me fly over New Atlantis, guns blazing.
If you have the skills, you can even figure out that certain creatures and plants, you can build an outpost and produce resources from those plants and animals. You can get experience and rewards for fully surveying planets.
We love to scan. I'm here to scan. Not gonna lie to you. I ain't talking shit. I'm here to fucking scan stuff.
When we were concepting these creatures, we really wanted to
yeah,
think of
I don't
them
know,
as
man.
natural to the environment. We didn't want alien monsters. We wanted native wildlife.
Like, yeah, but also I think you made a lot of alien
before.
monsters. Like, you know.
When it comes to our exteriors, when the sun moves, all that light is calculated in real time through the atmosphere. Our biggest goal for lighting with Starfield was to make the game feel more filmic, to use lighting and color to really make it feel more cinematic.
It's a very nice looking game. Yeah, you do start to wonder about performance.
After some exploring, you can find a spot to set up a base camp. Outposts can be built almost anywhere on any planet. And the habitat modules come in all shapes and sizes, filling all different purposes. You can even live in them. Assign crew and companions to work at your outposts for added bonuses and set up extractors to harvest resources while you're away.
I don't...
Something cool we have this time is we have a new fly cam where you can toggle between on-foot building.
Those are cool systems. I don't want to, and maybe I would build outposts. I built some outposts in No Man's Sky.
And placing those larger hubs.
I don't want to staff them. I don't want to fucking staff an outpost. I don't want to have to deal with like crew management and putting people like I don't want to touch any of that stuff.
Much easier.
I want a button that says put dudes in this building so I get the bonuses and leave me alone. I don't ever want to get a radio message saying this outpost is under attack. I don't want to fucking have to travel back and fucking deal with it. Fallout 4 style. But like conceptually, yeah, these look great.
Add crafting and research
But that's not a
stations
level
in your
of
outpost
management
utilize
that I want to
any
do.
Resources you find
Period.
or already have.
Mod your weapons to adapt them to your playstyle. Different weapon sights and scopes, larger magazines, a selection of grips and barrels, different ammunition like explosive rounds. All you stealth players out there will surely need a suppressor. You can also choose to go hands-on with melee weapons.
Ugh.
I think it's always a delicate balance between like what's realistic, what's sim, and what's Hollywood. And I think we sort of err on the side of like what's fun for the player.
With Starfield, we've completely overhauled our combat. It's more dynamic, the animations are more fluid.
It looks way more active than a lot of their other
feels
stuff.
great.
I think that this stuff looks like
We probably
good.
have more mods and more weapons.
You know, I think a lot of their combat has been.
I want to say any other game we've done before.
Well, you know,
There's a lot
they
of
put
variety.
VATS in the game for a reason, right?
Upgraded gear is just one of the many factors to pay attention to when engaging in combat.
They got
You may
lasers
need
in
to
this or
switch
what?
things up based on your environment. Gravity is different for each planet, and boost packs are excellent for getting around.
I wonder if gravity will have any impact on bullet drop.
Sometimes you'll even feel like you're flying. Zero gravity environments pose a different challenge.
But yeah, I want to see energy weapons. I want to see some energy
will actually
weapons.
push you backwards.
Like they have to be in there, right? Okay, yeah.
Energy weapons, on the other hand,
Energy weapons.
offer a more stable shooting experience.
We also have mag weapons. These are high-powered electromagnetic induction ballistic arrays. Each barrel has its own targeting laser and can dish out some serious damage. Whether you want to get up close and personal with your own two fists, or you like more compact weapons like pistols and submachine guns, or maybe you prefer something bigger. Starfield's got you covered.
Hexen t-shirt. Come on. I don't like, you know, it's just like, here's a game full of like, goopy alien spider dudes. I feel like that's so much of, whether it was the wildlife or the enemies that they're fighting, like, okay, here's some robots and other cool stuff like that, but like, I feel like so much of the alien design has been that. It's just like, here's a spidery thing. Oh, sure, yeah.
Thanks again for being with us today. We are just so grateful that you've taken the
Little
time
force push.
and spent it here. I know there was probably a lot to take in. There's a lot to the game, even more than we could show here. You know, as we play it, we're always sharing these unique and special moments that only a game like this can bring. When I think about what makes it special, it really is the people here. This game is a reflection of the incredible and passionate team that made it. All of them putting something special of themselves into it. So let's hear some of their favorite moments.
I love the way that our final combination of all the new tech has come together to create some of the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises we've ever had in any of our games.
I love the creatures, the exploration, every biome is different. The word that comes to mind is vast.
I like to use our photo mode to take rock star photos.
I just love that constant feel of discovery and, wow, I can't believe that there's more here.
I'm most excited about our Outpost building systems.
My favorite part is every time you step out on a planet, it's a unique experience.
You spend all this time building your ship, and you see it on the landing pad. These things are gigantic. It's the kind of thing that you just can't get anywhere else.
There's something about seeing a tower over in the distance and going, I know the gravity's low here. I think I can make that jump.
My favorite part is biomes, spaceships,
audio design,
planets,
the day-night cycle.
Those details matter to me.
Diplomacy, exploration, freedom, the
Having sex with these alien goofballs.
I love the robots so much.
The incredible amount of worlds we created.
Sniper rifles, come on.
Lever action, rocket launcher,
Brain sprout. I laugh, but some people might find creepy. I don't know. I know it's right, Ben. The thing that I enjoy most about the game is the freedom to be who you want to be, do what you want to do. It's what you've come to expect from a Bethesda title, but on a much bigger scale.
I think that's a really good, it's very smart for them to end on that, because I think that really sums up a lot of what they're showing.
We can't wait for you to play Starfield.
It's a
and
known,
make your own special moments.
you know the types of games Bethesda makes, you know the sorts of systems they put in them, but they're trying to make it bigger. I'm pulling for him, man. It looks fucking cool as hell. You know, but it's one of those devil in the details thing that, you know, isn't gonna, you know, you're not gonna know until you know about performance and performance on multiple platforms, you know. Like, what's this thing look like on a Series S? I mean, I don't, that's more of an academic question for me. Because I'm, you know, I don't really use a Series S very often, but like, they sold a lot of those, and so what happens to those players? What do we get on a Series X? Because it's not like the Series X versions of games have been always amazing performance-wise either. Do we end up with a bunch of options like, oh, you know, yeah, the sunsets look good if you lock it at 30. Ray tracing looks awesome if you want to lock it at 30. Well, we have to make those trade-offs on console. And then, you know, how's it run on PC? Can you brute force your way past all that stuff and whatever else? Product 1000 says, I am a cynic. I don't believe in the actual game design of this thing. I feel like they've got a time-tested game design, right? I mean, love it or hate it, I think that aspect of the game is pretty well worn, and they have, for better or worse, they've proven that they can make that game, and they can make those games. And, you know, so it really just comes down to, can they make good on the variety to justify the size of the universe, the size of the galaxy, and the scope? Like, can they come up with enough content for that thing to make you feel like, okay, every aspect of this game feels like it's all coming together perfectly, right? And that includes, like, you want some planets that will be empty and voids, you know? You need to have planets that have jack shit on it. You know, it's not about, like, you don't want every planet to be an amusement park, but also you need to make sure that when you're not just landing on, like, 10 dead planets in a row and going like, oh, fuck, man, what am I doing? Because that's no good either. But that, you know, like the tech that, you know, Mass Effect had a lot of things in it, right? It had, obviously it was the interpersonal relations and the crew and the story there, I think, is the biggest thing. But also the world they created in Mass Effect, the tech, the justifications for the tech, the lore, the codex, the, you know, like how all the things look and work and why they are the way they are. That to me is just as valuable as the writing and the stuff in Mass Effect. So I don't think this game is necessarily going for like that style of writing, that Mass Effect kind of thing, right? You know, they're not, you know, the game is too big and open for them to try to like Mass Effect feels like a focused story by comparison to a Bethesda game, right? That's just the BioWare, the difference between BioWare of that era and, what Bethesda has become known for, right? Mass Effect has memorable characters. There are people that very much adore various characters across the Bethesda ecosystem, whatever, like the variety of characters you meet across those games. Like there's always one or two per game that people go, this one's the good one. But I think the combat looks much improved. I think they didn't show a ton of melee. They showed a little bit of it, but like, what does the magic system look like? They teased it there at the end, a little bit of force push or something. Like, what does that system look like, and how deep does that go? That'd be interesting, because that won't be magic. That'll be some kind of tech thing, or like, oh, you've got a tech glove and it can push people, whatever it is. And it runs on this meter, but you have to spec into it if you want it. But the best story bits in Bethesda games were never the main plot line, right? It was always like the faction. I mean, it was, whether it was Dark Brotherhood or whatever, there was always some side thing that felt smaller and more personal and more interesting than whatever the fuck you were doing in the main quest. I think the main quest in Skyrim is just fucking boring, but there's some actually really good writing in that game as well. It's just in the corners and the little bits and pieces. So, they're showing a template here. They're showing an expanded version of their existing template. And I think that it's like you can start to make the assumptions, right? About like, okay, well, I would expect this to be very similar to their previous games in a lot of these hyper specific ways. And that means you'll find good content around the edges, and maybe the main quest is a little straightforward, a little overly dull, or whatever. But I don't know. They didn't really spend a ton of time. Like, you don't really have a good indication of what the main objective is here. You're just like, well, we're Constellation. We love to explore, and presumably something is found, and you have to go deal with it. And it's existential in nature because these games have to have stakes. But wouldn't it be weird? It'd be kind of cool in a weird way if it actually didn't have that. If all of it was like little small pockets of narrative and interesting little quirky things. But yeah, is it Ancient Aliens? It's Precursor Race. Like pick one of the 5 things that sci-fi does when they're constructing a universe. And I'm sure it will have one of those 5 things at least. So yeah, it's I don't know. You look at that and you feel like a lot more about it from just a systems perspective, but a lot of that I think is stuff that you could safely have assumed a year ago. And just go like, okay, well, I kind of know how Bethesda makes games, and I think I know how they craft their role-playing systems and how they build characters and skill trees and, the various ways they have done that in the past. And I think it's pretty safe to say that we will see something that is roughly along those lines, right? And I think that's what we're seeing here, is it's something along those lines. And it looks like a game from a studio who has spent decades making this type of game and have evolved those things yet again. And some of those will probably be successful. Some of those you might come away going like, oh, I thought it was better the way they did it in Fallout 4 or whatever else. But I think the ambition comes in the size and the scope. The ambition comes in the number of different systems that they've got at play here, right? Those games are always, I might say that Bethesda games are over ambitious, right? That's probably part of the problem, is a lot of the time it just feels like they're biting off way more than they can chew. And so Fallout 4 launches and it's broken on console and the frame rate is this and that. And there's all these, like the jank happens, right? Because they're trying to do so much shit along the way that it's very difficult to nail all of that. No one else really makes games at this size and scope. In fact, I don't know that I always want a lot of games to duplicate this size and scope. Like when Outer Worlds came along, like that to me was a very enticing idea, because it was like, here's one of these, but we made it way more focused and tight, and it lets you get to the writing that we're proud of. And the problem there is I don't think they nailed the narrative through the last 2/3 of that game. The very first planet on that game, awesome. They put all the good writing up front, and then it falls apart. But theoretically, the formula of one of these but tighter is actually enticing as well. But I do think obviously there's room for some big expansive crazy thing. I just, hey, they're shipping on fewer platforms. They don't, their biggest problem, the biggest problem they have always had was putting those games out on PlayStation 3. And thankfully they won't have to do that this time. The PlayStation 3 is safely sell. They don't have to think about the cell processor ever again. However, that said, Fallout 4 on a PlayStation 4 was not exactly an amazing experience. But hey, focusing on fewer platforms, hopefully that helps out as well a little bit when it comes to getting this thing out the door in as best a shape as they can get it, right? But you just know, because it's now, and all games launch like this, that game is going to come out and there's going to be some fucked up shit in it, and they'll patch it hopefully. And they've been pretty good about eventually patching that stuff. But like, man, yeah, it's we'll see. I mean, how hot does it come in, right? Those are the last remaining questions for a game that's coming out early September. It's 3 months away, basically. It's not that far off. That'll be here before you know it. And that's cool. I don't know. It looks like a big game. It looks like it fucking feels like a big game. Like, they for everything they've, saying it's like the most important RPG ever made. I think that's don't put that on them. Don't put that. They have enough to do that. They don't need that. So yeah, that's especially when I would say, like, some of the games they made before that established the blueprint for what they're making now are kind of automatically more important than this. Like, you don't get to this without, for everyone's going to have a different game, right? But I think if you had to, like, what is the most important Bethesda game? For me, it's Oblivion, because that was the game. You could argue Morrowind did this as well, but I think Oblivion was more successful at it. At making those games feel extremely at home on console. Obviously, Morrowind was on the original Xbox, and some people loved that game there. But I think when you go back and you play Morrowind on original Xbox, like, it didn't break through. And when you go see all of those menus and the way that they work on that original Xbox, it's rough stuff. So for me, Oblivion was the game that, really established them, right? I think that was the game that became this big mainstream success. It was a launch, it was really close to, it was very early on in the Xbox 360's lifespan. So it was, people were looking for any game they could get, and Oblivion was the right game at the right time. And so I look at that, like, I think that is an immensely important video game when it comes to where we are today, when it comes to all of the console style role-playing games that are now just, that's the style of role-playing, to the point where now, like, when Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, they have to kind of, like, this is like, it's a CRPG, like, it's a classic computer role-playing game. The Oblivion changed the way we talk about the genre, and inherently it's hard for a game like Starfield to be more important than that, I suppose. So that's a bit of a tricky one. I thought that this was going to go much closer to 1 o'clock. I thought we were going to have another 30 minutes of stuff out of the Microsoft end of this show. I don't think that was. Starfield is an interesting. Starfield looks very solid, right? I mean, that game could be. If that game is everything they say it's going to be, it'll be fucking awesome. Like I really want to play that game. I hope it is as good as they say it is. You know, that's the best case scenario, right? You look at that and you're like, man, if they nail this, that'll be one of the biggest games of the year. Is it the biggest game of the year? I think Zelda's got things pretty locked up. If we're talking about the overall how game of the year voting goes across publications and so on and so forth, I think Zelda will be a pretty tough game to beat. So yeah, I don't know. There were interesting games across that showcase, but I don't know that I did not come out of that showcase feeling like great about the state of Xbox, if that makes any sense. Like, there are interesting games in that. Some of those games will be third-party games. You know, as you know, you might expect, right? But I guess I don't feel like the first party showing for Xbox was as strong as I would have liked. And I think if they had like one more big announcement, but you know, you can't. They need to start cashing the checks that their mouths have been writing for the past several years, right? And so a lot of those games being 2024, not that much gameplay. They did give Forza a date. What is that? Is that October 10th? Or they have a date in October for Forza. Forza looks very nice. And yeah, so Payday's got a date now. You know, a lot of those games will come to Game Pass. Like, that was one of their big focuses. I think it's good that they finally showed Fable. I think them showing Fable in that kind of CG treatment, that kind of like, hey, here's a tone piece, I think is indicative of a rough development for that game. I feel like I've, heard whether it's like between first hand and third hand, like a variety of people that have, I've had conversations about Fable with over the years. That thing seems like it has been through some shit. So for them to finally be at a point where they are actually showing like, hey, here it is, and it is in fact going to be a funny game. We have not made a game where we didn't sit down and look at The Witcher and try and make one of those, which would not have been a successful tone for a Fable game. I think that game's got potential, I guess is what I would say. Like, I come out of that thing going like, great, cool. Like, if they have it is not the same style of British comedy, but if they have found a style of British comedy, I think that that is enough. And so I liked what they showed of that. I think that looks like it's kind of on the right track, And then I'm kind of looking over some of the other stuff that was shown, because it's, there's a lot of it kind of in and out, but, hey, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, like hey, that setup, that character, Hawaii, naked on the beach, like, a little goofy, like, that's a great little way to show that thing. Yeah, like Star Wars Outlaws, it's too early to say, 33 Immortals seems like an interesting thing. Those Persona games are either going to be for you or not. Avowed looked nice. Hellblade 2 I am convinced Hellblade 2 is probably never going to land for me. That's never going to be something that I'm going to go like, oh, fucking yeah. Like, every time they show it, I am like slightly less interested in it, I guess I would say, or just as uninterested in it. Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess looks potentially cool. It's nice to have something brand new in the show. You know, that's a good solid thing for them. What else, man? Dungeons of Hinterberg looked kind of cool. The Cyberpunk stuff, I can't, you know, cool that they got Keanu. That's a nice thing, but like I can't, with how messed up that game still is in 2023, nothing they could say about that game at this point is gonna. It's been too many years. It's been too messed up for too long. Like I can't, you know, that ship sailed. We're done with that. And then you got stuff like Clockwork Revolution and, you know, the kind of steampunk kind of thing that's just like an aesthetic that just feels so fucking done. I don't know. That game felt like it needed, or that showcase felt like it needed one more big punch. But like I said, a lot of the games they showed are not going to be out this year. And so they're already at a point where they're, you know, announcing more games. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to get out there and say, this game's coming out in 2025? Or, you know, like there's no point. They'll have more showcases, right? So, like, let's say Yabo asks, where was Gears even just a logo? Like, do you do that way? No. Like, you wait until you have something else and you show that next year, because it's not like it's going to be out before next June. And so if they are working on a Gears of War and they want to show something meaty, you show it then. If you just show it, if you just right now said, like, we're going to make a new Gears of War, like, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't make this show better. You know, unless they've got a really exciting tone piece to go with it or something. But then that starts the clock on people going like, when's that out? Over and over and over again. And that's the problem Microsoft has had for a really long time, is a lot of games that have not been making their dates and not been coming out. And so I think they need to get some games out. This guy says, Snooski says, just objectively wrong about Cyberpunk not working. Motherfucker, I played that game a few months ago and it deleted my entire fucking inventory. It fucking crashed. Fuck that. Objectively wrong. Get fucked, dumbass. That game is fucking fucked. Is it less fucked than it was at launch? Absolutely. But it is still way more fucked than it should be this many years in. Give me a fucking break. Oh, it's fine. It was fine for me. Stupid ass. Yeah, so I don't know. Like that's a hard one, because I look at it and you go like, that if that game had had one more big punch, that'd be cool, but they don't have it. If they had it, I think they would show it, right? So you end up in that situation where, do you show a game too early and you're like, here's a Gears logo and Marcus Phoenix putting on the fucking do-rag. Oh, that's a fucking, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. You know, whatever. Oh, Dom, I gotta get back out there. This lady is she's the queen's daughter. I don't know. We gotta. That's not that'd be like your Master Chief in the desert moment, where you know, it took a long time for them to have something meaningful to say about Halo Infinite after they had their Master Chief in the desert trailer, right? So. But I don't know. It's something that would be something that's a delicate game to play, right? Because you look at it and you go like, okay, well, that would at least get the people going. Like, that would be like, hey, we are going to make more of this and blah blah blah. But again, I think that the Microsoft's trustworthiness right now just feels a little low. And so I think the best that they could be doing right now, Starfield aside, right? I mean, Starfield is kind of like, it's their big thing that they're betting on, obviously, forever. It's the most important role-playing game ever made. But I think if you look at the rest of the lineup, they gotta get these games out. You know, it's telling that like a game like Perfect Dark that they have been theoretically working on for some chunk of time now. It's been a while since that game got announced, that they haven't brought it back. Like we're just now showing Fable in a meaningful way. Like that game was announced was it announced in, or was it rumored? It was 2019. Like I remember talking about, hey, Playground is making Fable in like 2019. It's been a while. So obviously that game has been probably internally rebooted at least once, if not twice, or something, you know, who knows. But like it's I don't think it's a huge secret that it sounds like that game was troubled for a while. So them showing it here, you're at least like, hey, they are they've settled on a direction, they are moving forward. So that's better than nothing. Do I think Starfield has the capability to move the needle on Game Pass subscribers? I wasn't too excited for it and it looked pretty cool, but I already have Game Pass, so I'll give it a try anyway. That's a good question. I can only speak anecdotally about that because I don't have a bunch of numbers in front of me about what does move the needle for Game Pass. But when I think about the Bethesda games and their reach, I knew a dude who was not a big video game player at all. He used to come over, he worked for the water department, and so like he would just like bail on his day. He would just like come over to my house and play Doom on the 32X all the time. That was about the extent of it. And I remember years later, he bought an Xbox 360, and every time I turned on an Xbox for years, it seemed like he was in there playing Skyrim or Fallout in some cases. And it was this weird thing of just like, oh wow, I never really would have expected this guy to get into that specific style of game. So, you know, I think that, you know, the big deep sci-fi RPG, go anywhere, do anything. I think that there's a ton of people that could potentially get interested in that idea and get absorbed into that universe in a way that they maybe don't with other games. If the game's good enough, if the word of mouth is good enough, you know, that eventually does something. And if that pulls people into Game Pass, that's probably good for Microsoft, right? You know, that's in some ways that's the ideal scenario. If they're just like, well, I don't really play a lot of games, but I like, hey, Starfield, I'm way into this, and I signed up for this Game Pass thing to play it. What else is here? Maybe that gets them into the ecosystem, and maybe they stay there, right? So, you know, that there's probably some path there for growing Game Pass subscribers. But it depends on, you know, how they market it, how it gets out there. Again, it depends really on word of mouth. I mean, marketing can take them, they will market the shit out of it, right? But, and yeah, what's the mod scene look like for the PC version of that game? That's an interesting, you know, Skyrim. Other Bethesda games have had legs way more than they should have, largely because of mods. You know, can I make my ship into a dragon that has Randy Savage's face or whatever, you know? I think that there's a lot of stuff there that you could do with mods, obviously, right? So I don't know, you know, I hope they pull it off. I mean, for a few reasons, really. I hope that Starfield comes in functional, better than the typical Bethesda release, right? And I hope that all those systems pan out. I think that's the thing, you know, like you again, because of the types of games that Bethesda has made, and you look at these menus, you know what it is. You know, how will it control in low gravity? Like those are the sorts of things that will make or break it in some capacity. Is just like, hey, they revamped their combat, and you know, but you've got all these low gravity situations. Is it fun to control when you're more floaty? When you're, you know, how does the jump jet stuff work? How do these things play out? That's going to be a big test for it in terms of like, that's something that I think we don't know. I think the footage they showed looked good. The combat looked good. I think the space combat stuff looked okay. But I'm maybe a little less sold on that. I think that the, you know, equipping weapons on your ship and distributing power differently and those sorts of systems have been done well in other games before. But how will it pan out here? How will the big ships control? Because how will you do things like, again, dogfighting in a cargo ship? Are there going to be situations where you're just like, oh, we're fucked, we're outgunned here, like there's literally no way for me to win this? Or will there always be a situation where you're just like, okay, if I'm flying this giant tank, then I need to make sure that I try to dock and take them out that way? Or I need to, you know, will I have rear firing turrets? Will there be, you know, like, can I have side turrets and have my crew man side turrets and do those sorts of things to better protect my larger, I was gonna say capital ships. They're you know, they don't seem that big. They don't seem like big capital ships, but the bigger, slower ships, will I be able to load them up in ways that make them easier to defend, I suppose, is the question. You know, because there are going to be situations where you want a bigger ship, but if having a bigger ship means that you're less nimble in space, then space combat becomes a very different situation. Can the bigger ships mount crazier weapons? Like, you know, what's the... So, that, you know, I feel like I'm left with questions around those sorts of systems, right? And how well those things may or may not work is a really interesting question. Or yeah, like, could you have a ship so big that you can launch another tiny ship out of it and do your dogfighting? That was something I was thinking while they were showing it, but they didn't get there. I thought maybe they would, but yeah, I don't know. So I feel like those are my questions about it, and the rest of it is just kind of wait and see. But I think whatever, you know, and I felt this way before a lot of the show, but you know, the stuff they've showed of that game, you look at it and go like, there's a pathway here where this is the fucking sickest fucking space game ever made, or whatever, you know, like you come away from it going like, this is all the things I want to do in and out of a ship, and so on and so forth, right? Like that's the hope. And I hope that they do it. I mean, you know, like what they're showing, what they're selling you right now today, I think is an incredibly compelling package, but it all comes down to execution. You know that at this point, you're not, you know, you ain't new. You've played some Bethesda games at or near launch at this point. You know how it can be. We all know how it can be. So I guess that's something we won't know until September. Are people playing it at Summer Games Fest? Well, Summer Games Fest is over, pretty much. I do not believe they are letting people play Starfield. But I know, my understanding is that they were going to make some of the Xbox leadership team available for a group Q&A after the showcase. I don't think that's something that they're streaming or anything, but there may be some quotes that come out of that. I'm not really sure. And I thought I heard that there may be some playable games there at their thing. So it is possible that they have let a handful of people touch it in some capacity, but I don't think it is something that they're making widely playable to all press or anything like that. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like IGN did some hands-on stuff. So, but yeah, so it's you know, I still have the same questions about Starfield, and those are things that they're not going to be able to successfully address in a video like this, right? So, we'll just have to wait and see for those things. But, you know, I think everything they showed, like systems wise, you know, you go, hey, you got ballistic weapons, you've got energy weapons, you know, you've got your melee weapons, whatever else, you know, some kind of spec in a direction of a magic-esque thing, you know, some kind of tech powers or whatever it is. And all the shipbuilding. I think the shipbuilding and outpost building is kind of cool for the idea of just like, you know, you're able to build a thing and then walk around in it and do it. But I think that I guess the you know, the Starfield thing that kind of bummed me out a little bit is the alien design in a lot of cases. I think the you know, just the horror looking spidery fucking things just don't I don't really like the way that stuff looks. I think that yeah, they kind of all look like Starship Troopers, aliens of some capacity, and you know, it's a lot of that. Is a lot of what they showed, right? Some of the maybe non-hostile kind of fauna or whatever looked, you know, more interesting or whatever. I don't know. You know, you don't necessarily need to have humanoid aliens or something, but I wonder if that's something that they're not showing. If you eventually, hey, here's a faction of evil humanoid aliens that you can go kill or be a part of or whatever else. But I think that, you know, that Star Trek style, all of these alien races are bipedal, you know, walking around talking English. Like, you know, I like the way Mass Effect did. Not that every single race in Mass Effect was like that, but most of them were. You know, I like that style of sci-fi and aliens. And you know, if you want to have your weird, horrible creatures out there that you've got to murder, sure, why not? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Mass Effect I think nailed that kind of Star Trek style vibe, or the way they handled their aliens, both enemy races and the kind of, you know, the other races that would join your party and all of that. You know, I think that they did that stuff really well. Because it's fun to have conversations with alien creatures about their customs and races and all this other stuff, right? So if everyone in space is just like, we're all humans and we're fighting the weird spider creatures all the time, it's just like this planet has slightly different spider creatures than this other one, then that one's sort of a bummer. I thought that all this stuff was going to run right up to the beginning of that PC show too. That's sort of the other thing, is now we've got this kind of downtime to this time to kill here. But let's see. Do I have where is it? You want to watch a little Mortal Kombat footage? I've got some more that I have not posted yet. All right, let me get this up here. Let's see if we can get it in here. So this is another 18 minutes of footage. It's from the same session. Like I went and basically recorded a bunch of it. And so, you know, I guess keep in mind, this is my first time playing the game, and you know, I'm talking to a few people that are, you know, from NetherRealm as I'm playing it, and they're kind of like showing me some new things as I go. And so this is another 19 minutes of footage or so. So as you see here, you pick your character, then you pick your cameo. This has been controversial in a way that I did not expect, where people are like, I can't believe, can you confirm if there is or is not one-on-one combat? And there is not. But it is not a tag game. You know, these are assist characters that you just kind of call out. They show up in these moments, which I think is a little silly, but I actually kind of really like how it is silly. And so you can see up there in the corners, the upper corners there, you've got your cameo characters with a little circular meter. And so when you call them in, that meter drains, and that's what prevents you from just popping them out over and over again. But it's a situation where, like, you hit R1, and, you know, if you hit it neutral, it does one thing, forward it does another, back it does another. Some characters like Jax have, if you hit down in R1, that's also another one. You can use your cameo fighter to do combo breakers, but that takes like all your meter. And you can also, the interesting thing that I don't know is if that's been in too much of the coverage, I'm sure some of the more fighting game community people that have played the game have talked about it, but you can break out of an X-ray or a fatal blow, fatal blow they call them now. But you need all of your meter, and you need to have your cameo available, because if any of that is not true, then you don't have enough to call them out. And so your meter is used for the kind of typical EX style meter burn moves. Sub-Zero, you know, normally when you do his slide, he ends it by sticking him with an ice spear. If you do the meter burn EX version of the move, he does not do the spear, but it has armor on it, so it can absorb a hit. It's going to be a little less damage, but it's a little more guaranteed damage. But then the cameo system is what opens up a lot of really wild shit in this game, because in theory, when you call out Kano to do the ball, you can hold that button down and he will just sit there. If you get hit, he will be knocked out of that ball animation and he will go away. So there's kind of the risk there. But, you know, what if you did Sub-Zero's meter burn slide and you can't follow up with a hit immediately after that, but you do kind of stand up faster than you do after the normal one, and then you let off that button, hit him with the ball. That gets you a little bit more of a juggle and gives Sub-Zero time to walk over and do some more hits. That's kind of one of the things they're talking a lot about, or that I heard mentioned a few times, was this idea of like player expressiveness. Here I turned the AI up to very hard.
My ancestors say they've tangled with yours.
To see how that goes.
Has it occurred to you to ask them why?
And so this idea of just like air combos. And so air combos are things like Sub-Zero's got I think it's like down back to, or maybe it's just back to, where he pulls out like a spine, and that's an icy spine and skull as his, like, you know, whatever weapon, and he'll pop you up at the end of that. You can jump up after that, and then you can hit 2-2-2, and that will be a 3-hit air combo that slams them back down to the ground. But there are other combos you could do that might send them down sooner, and they bounce, and then off a bounce you could maybe land and do this. And so it remains to be seen how that will end up manifesting, because I feel like games that offer a lot of like combo expressiveness and player freedom in that system, there's that move he did right there with his little icy spine thing. Or that's me trying to do it and it going poorly. Is that players often find what the optimal combos are, and then they just try to do those all the time, right? You know, and player expressiveness is an awesome thing, but then everyone figures out like, well, this one does the most damage, so I'm always going to try to do that. This seems unpleasant. Kenshi's really interesting because he's a puppet character, and so when you call out, when you pull out his sword, then the ghost appears, and you kind of control the ghost as you're controlling yourself. And what that means is if you hold down block, Kenshi will block, but with block held down, you can still move the ghost around and play with just him. And so you can walk the ghost out and do some attacks while Kenshi is there blocking, which is pretty interesting.
Will the suffering of the realms ever cease?
Those who live in them will decide.
I'm happy the game is set in like a contemporary timeline. That was sort of one of the questions I had for Ed. That's in the podcast interview. Was like, is this going to be a situation where, you know, it's ancient times, and so Johnny Cage is like a weird character out of time or something, or he's not an actor anymore because there aren't film cameras or cameras at all or whatever it is. I went through a few move lists here just out of, you know, just to get footage of them if people are interested in that, I suppose. So it's nice to see that, like, oh, well, hey, you know, yes, you can, Johnny Cage is here. He can still have a mansion. It's still, you know, a contemporary setting that offers a wide variety of background options. You know what I mean? Liu Kang's got some interesting stuff where they've, you know, that's bad. That feels like that would be unpleasant. Like when he does the flying kick, and I don't know if he will do it here. The way the low fireball bounces, I think, is like a good example there also, where there's like really interesting effects on the way his stuff looks. There's this bicycle kick, it didn't land. But I think his fireballs look great. That teleport's interesting there. Well, no, that was just high fireball. With the flying kick, a big full dragon goes across the screen, and then he follows up with the kick. It's like basically the same concept for a move, but it's got a different look to it because he's a freaking fire god or whatever now. I was also really left with the impression that by the time they're done putting cameo characters in this game, it's gonna be a whole lot. And okay, here we go. Here we go. This is the most exciting thing I've seen in a long time. So the cameo characters have their own fatalities, and a lot of them are based on their classic fatalities. My understanding is that getting Jax to not clip through the ceilings of some of the backgrounds was something that took some work. But let's see here. So yeah, the cameo characters will have their own fatalities, and it's a situation where I think a lot of the cameo characters will be like different versions of the characters. So I would not be shocked if by the time they were done with cameo stuff that there were like 3 different Sub-Zeros in there, because Sub-Zero is in here, but you will probably not play this Sub-Zero as a cameo character. It'll probably be more like a situation where you're like, oh, I'm playing like classic MK1 Sub-Zero as a cameo character, or I am putting unmasked like MK3 Sub-Zero could potentially also be a cameo character, and whether that's like one thing on the select screen and then you pick a different thing, or that's separate entries on the screen, I don't know. Or, you know, we'll see if that even, but like that's the impression I get, is that there's room for, well, I'm fairly certain that there will be a Sub-Zero as a cameo character, but I feel like from the conversations I was having, it seems likely that there will potentially be multiple Sub-Zero options as cameos. Any sense in the number of new characters that'll be in the base game? No, none at all. No, I do not know. The main roster, like, who knows? Like, the one thing that I think talking to Ed Boon when we spoke for a while about kind of the roster stuff, about Stryker, and he mentioned the combat kids from X, and kind of said, like, well, you know, the combat kids are not born yet, so that would seem to imply that they would not be playable characters here. I just couldn't stop doing this. I think I did this like 5 times in a row because it just made me feel good every time I saw it. It still does. Like seeing it, I'm like, oh yeah. Can the cameo character attacks be interrupted? Absolutely. And you take damage if your cameo character gets hit. So yes, you can knock a cameo character out, and that burns the meter, right? So you have to be careful about when and how you use it, right? The input for so yeah, the preview builds of Mortal Kombat games are typically built in such a way that the fatalities are extremely easy. And so all of the fatalities in this build were like down, and a button. So for the cameo, it was down, and the cameo button. And for other characters, it was down, and you know, one of the 4 main buttons. There are also brutalities in here. So, you know, a couple times I finished a round finished a fight with an uppercut and it knocked his head off and did the same thing that brutalities have done in previous games. So you see there, you know, Sonya comes in and does the square wave, which is a decent little anti-air. There, that's the flying kick. See that dragon comes first and then he follows up with it? Like, it's the same basic concept. But if you meter burn it, he doesn't chase it. And so you get, like, the effects of a flying kick, but you're still standing there. Able to follow up or you know, attacking from a safe distance and making it into kind of a projectile at that point almost. Is the Ed Boon interview uploaded? Yes, it's on the podcast feed. You go search for The Jeff Gerstmann Show wherever audio podcasts are found. You will find it. It's on the Patreon also. You haven't seen one bicycle kick? I was doing some bicycle. I don't know that I landed one, but I was there. There's a brutality. Yes, there are. Yes, the bicycle kick is in there. It is still, as far as I can tell, I believe it is back, forward, circle. I really like and I liked this about the previous game as well, like these win animations that you get on brutalities that you kind of don't normally see, I think are really cool. So we got another 6 minutes of footage here or something. But I was trying, you know, at this point I was trying to like figure some stuff out, and I don't know that I really did. The game also, you know, I never got to do it against I probably should have just set it to 2-player and grabbed the other controller and tried to do it there you go, see Sonya knocking me out of the air there. Something that they're calling an up block. If you hit block and up on the D-pad, you will see the character kind of like aim their block up a little bit. And if you use that against a jumping attack, I guess it will block it in such a way that you can then do like full combos as punishes to that if you know are guessing right to handle that combo and timing that properly. The timing looks relatively loose. It's not like a flawless block type of timing. But that up block seems like something that lets you punish a lot more. Couldn't remember what button it was.
Flawless victory.
And that up block is interesting. I have to watch some of the other footage out there. I know some other folks got footage of it being used, and so I have not seen an up block actually like work and what you can do off of it. But it seemed pretty cool. Sub-Zero's got a dive kick now, an homage to the great game Dive Kick, I'm sure. What was I playing this on? That's a great question. I don't know. They were not showing, you know, a lot of these a lot of these demos, it's a controller that goes behind a curtain and you don't know what it's running on. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't. In this case, it was PlayStation 5 controllers that were going off to something else. So I would not be shocked if it was running on a PC. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to say it probably wasn't running on a PC. It probably was running on PlayStation 5 simply because NetherRealm is not doing the PC port themselves. They have another team do the QLoke does their PC ports. So maybe this would have had to have been running on a PS5 dev kit. I actually don't know though. Don't take that as gospel. I don't know what it was running on. Like Alan Wake 2, when they showed us Alan Wake 2, that was running on a PS5 dev kit. I love the look of Liu Kang's stuff, the fireballs, and just how a lot of it, yeah, it's neat. And then here's this. Kano does what Kano, you know, and I think this is cool because it gives you the opportunity to have like all of these classic early MK fatalities re-rendered in fucking Unreal Engine 5. You know, UE5 versions of Kano's heart rip. You know, Sonya blowing the kiss and burnt, you know, like all of that shit I think is really cool.
Sub-Zero, Kitana, Sonya Blade, Jax, the T-House.
Living in your sister's shadow wastes your potential.
It is my duty and privilege to serve her.
Do they do the Scorpion mask pull? Scorpion's not in this build, so don't know. But yes. How about that? I don't know, but yes. They did show a Scorpion fatality in some of the footage that they showed us. And I assume they put that out as a trailer, but it's like he's launching a... Or was that his X-ray or was that his fatality? I can't remember, but he was shooting... Oh, that is the end of the footage. That is when they came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, your interview is ready. So, so yes, that is the rest of the footage. I put up a bunch on YouTube without me talking over it. If you just want to see a bunch of, you literally want to see my first time touching this game, that is, it's basically the 20 minutes before this 20 minutes. And so, so yeah, but the Scorpion stuff they showed, it was like throwing dual spears through the chest and then it loops back around and comes out his fucking eye sockets and, you know, but presumably, and I am presuming, but I do think that with what they're going for on the cameo fighter stuff, it seems like a pretty safe bet. But yeah, you'll get classic Scorpion in there as a cameo fighter, and as such he will, you know, do the thing you expect him to do. You know, they showed Stryker as a cameo fighter, so you know, I think that the couple of times I mentioned characters from the PS2 and Xbox era to a couple of folks while I was there, I got kind of like, yeah, well, you know, I think in the interview, even Ed says, you'd be surprised how deep we go with some deep cuts. You know, so I would not be shocked to see, you know, this is a game where by the time they're done, whether it's for launch or, you know, by the time they're done adding DLC, you could get to a point where there's fucking 80 cameo characters in this or something, right? I mean, there's 100, you know, they could put every, you know, the Goro is in there as a cameo character. Striker's in there as a cameo character. There's a lot of different stuff they could do. And especially if you get into, well, some of these characters have had multiple iterations, and as such, we want to do robot smoke, but also human smoke. But what, man, they can, if they put robot smoke in that game, then they get to blow up the planet. They get to have that fatality in there. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I think there's a lot of fun stuff that they'll get to do with that. I think that it's something. I think people that are like weird lore people about the game, I kind of get why they would be like, oh, this cameo fighter stuff is a little weird. But I think in terms of like things that make the game feel different from what has come before it, that is the most major difference about Mortal Kombat 1. Like the cameo system is something that allows you to have easy access to a handful of special moves. It also creates a great avenue for nostalgia. When it comes to finishing moves and all of that other stuff. Did the cameo stuff make it feel like Marvel versus Capcom? No, I've seen some people try to call it Mortal versus Kombat, and you know, it's not. It does have it has more of an air combo system than they have had in the past. Like I said, you can jump up and do multiple normals. Like you can do air combos that are like bop, 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 like 3 button presses that end with them getting slammed down to the ground. So there is this idea of like jumping up there and doing shit in a way that isn't just juggles. Like Mortal Kombat has typically been like, okay, pop this, do this, hop kick, do this, land this, you know, that type of system. And now it's a little bit more of, if you launch them up there, you can jump up after them and kind of land a, you know, pursuit combo of some sort as a part of that. And so that does inch it a little bit closer to the Marvel versus Capcom type of stuff. But it's not a tag game. It's not a, you know, these are assists. Obviously, MVC has had assists in as well, but instead of choosing an assist type, you are getting multiple moves per character. And so it creates a situation that when you think about your main, or you think about like who you're going to play as, now you can kind of think about what's a cameo fighter that makes up for the weaknesses that this character has. Like if this character is a big, you know, can I bring in someone that's got like great projectiles to, you know, to make up for, you know, my shitty ones or what have you. I think that stuff's really, really interesting. And so it puts you in a position where you can kind of fill out your move set. And maybe you'll find yourself in a situation where you rotate between a few different main characters, but you're like, as long as I've got this cameo guy in the background, I know that I've got this kind of bread and butter shit that I can do. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Let's take a look at this PC gamer, the PC gaming show for 2023. Let's see what we got. They're getting ready to start here in another 9 minutes. It is not letting me pop out the video for some reason, so we'll go to YouTube. That one works. There we go. Looks like they're doing some pre-show stuff. I don't know. So yeah, I guess Mortal Kombat 1 is really fascinating. And it's stuff that I think might be really hard to illustrate to players who are not relatively like dyed in the wool. You know, if you don't know some of the nuance of the last couple of Mortal Kombat games, then it may be tricky to truly understand why this stuff matters. And so I wonder if they will have a tough time kind of illustrating this to new players and getting them to understand the hows and whys of, oh man, this is I don't want, is this show going to be full of fucking AI jokes? Because I cannot. I'll tell you, hey, listen. This show was a rough watch last year. there may be a situation where I punch out of it at some point. Once it gets started, I'll unmute it. Once it gets started, it is muted for a reason. I don't want to hear their AI comedy. I'm sorry. We'll get to the show when it starts. You know, the idea of like, oh, you can block up now is like a thing that doesn't, you know, that'll be a hard thing for kind of newer players to understand why that matters, or, you know, more beginner players, I guess, to understand. But I think that, you know, lapsed fans of Mortal Kombat or whatever else, you know, like you see all of those characters in their MK1 outfits, and you just go, I need to see that shit. Like it's fun. Like the way that stuff is integrated, the cameo stuff, the way it's built into the game. Again, it's stuff that kind of brings a lot of additional potential to the combo system in ways where you know, if you're not, you know, there's plenty of stuff that I'm sure you could memorize and figure all of this stuff out, but like, it feels like it'll lead to situations where, like, if you're just a regular player and you're popping a guy up in the air and you think fast enough, like, oh, I can just jump up here and do more. Like you see more openings where you're like, I could get another hit in here. And maybe it's not the optimal esports fucking thing to do, but it's a lot of situations where you're just like, oh, I can get one more thing in here. And the system is open enough that you can kind of do a variety of things there. And I think that's great. I think that's where you want to be, right? And so I think that the air combo stuff, initially when I walked in, because when I got there on Friday, I sat down and they had a presentation where they showed a bunch of footage from the same build that I showed you, same characters generally, and walked through some of those systems. And at first, when they're like, we've got an emphasis on air combo, because, you know, like, especially like coming off of Street Fighter 6, where Street Fighter 6 is all about like offering the modern control scheme, offering you know, simplified ways to play, and kind of trying to bridge the gap that way. Out of the gate saying we've put air combos in our game is, in, you know, for me as someone who really had a hard time ever really enjoying Marvel, like any of the Marvel games that Capcom did, the versus games, the air combo heavy games that they did, I just never liked those systems. And so when they opened with like, yo man, we got a real focus on air combos this time around, I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting, because that's the, you know, like when I think about air combos in fighting games, it's the exact opposite of what Street Fighter 6 is doing. You're like, oh, well, you're doubling down on some wild shit. But no, it feels like that they've just created more opportunities for you to pop people up. You know, they have combo breakers in there so you can, you know, get yourself out of trouble if you end up in trouble, and have created systems that I think will end up working out. I think the thing that has always made Mortal Kombat friendly to a wide audience has been its story mode, which has served as like a pretty good tutorial, and it can be easy enough to where you don't have to necessarily be great at the game to make that happen. What's that? Mr. Papa Shot says, I heard one of the previews say that Mortal Kombat will have its own version of modern controls. That did not come up. We spoke specifically about Street Fighter 6, and that did not come up in conversation. I suppose I did not ask directly, but like, you know, where the conversation went with Ed was that the moves in Mortal Kombat have always been generally easier to do. Timing them out and all of that stuff is what it is, but in terms of this idea of being able to do the Dragon Punch motion in a Street Fighter game, that's something that back in 92 took me months before I could reliably do a Dragon Punch. I played Guile and Chun-Li for a very long time because a charge character I could understand. By comparison, even Mortal Kombat 1 was like, tap back twice, do back forward. You know, so just inherently, Mortal Kombat's inputs for normals and specials are easier, more universal in some cases. Now, once you get into combos, that's a different situation because it's like bop, 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 walk forward, bop, 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 do this special, bop, bop, do this, jump kick, X-ray, you know, like the advanced combos are very timing. Well, whatever. I don't want to, you know, Street Fighter's combos have extremely fucking tight timing as well at times. So, you know, go through the combo trials in Street Fighter 6 and you'll pretty quickly get to stuff that you're just like, oh, fuck. Like this button press is really tight. Like I have to really get this just right. This is a very tight window for this. So, you know, Mortal Kombat has that as well. It kind of always has. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think the systems are really interesting. And it left me wanting to see more for sure. I don't think it, you know, it's hard to, it's a weird situation because, and it's kind of like back to it in a weird way. Cause I think that Street Fighter is so fucking good right now. So good right now. And so it's awesome to see Mortal Kombat doing some cool stuff and Street Fighter in a really good position of strength. I think we'll see with Tekken, but Tekken looks fucking awesome. So it's just awesome to see the fighting game, like big, good fighting games